Hola mi gente, this is Ruthie O, your host for Living in Harmony No Matter What. I'm back. Here we talk about shining a light on stories of empowerment, inspiration, motivation, and healing. And today I want to introduce a special guest, our very own Susie G. Welcome, Susie.
Hi.
So let me tell you a little bit about Susie. Susie G is a loving daughter, loving sister, loves to sing since she was 12 years old, loves to perform, active in her church choir, an MCAC star, a vocal coach, and she wears many, many hats.
That's a lot.
It is a lot. Welcome, Susie. Thank you for joining me on my show today.
Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here today.
Well, I'm glad that you're here. And May, if you don't know, and I'm sure a lot of people have heard, but May is the month of mental health awareness. And we will be touching on some sensitive topics. And first, I want to thank you because I think I'm very proud of you for coming on and sharing your story and just having this conversation with me about this because, you know, recently, haven't we heard that there have been so many news reports about suicides?
Yes.
And it's all about depression, and it's all about, you know, people talking about that they've been going through this for a long time.
Yes.
And so, you know, one of the things that, you know, I heard, I was recently on a trip and we were doing karaoke, and one of the women that was singing, when she ended her song, she bursted out in tears, and we were like trying to figure out what happened. Mm-hmm. And it was because she heard the news that Naomi Judd had committed suicide. Yeah. And Naomi Judd, 74 years old. Imagine there was reports that she struggled with depression for years, and yes, she even attempted suicide at one point. But can you imagine at 74 years old and then, you know, committing suicide? So, you know, another one that we heard about was the former Miss USA, Chelsea. She was 30 years old. Beautiful young woman.
Yes.
Beautiful young woman. And, you know, to me, it's a tragedy when you see somebody that, like, you don't notice that there's something wrong.
Yeah. A lot of times in these cases, you just never see it. And it's like how they always say, like, you never really know what someone is going through.
And that's exactly right. Yeah. And that's why they tell everybody you should really be kind to someone, because you don't know what they're going through or struggling with inside. And then, you know, especially with Chelsea, if you look at her pictures and if you look at her interviews, she never gave any type of hint that she was struggling with anything internally. No. Like she like looking at her externally, beautiful young woman. Yes. And it's sad. So what would you say about somebody who's going through depression, and can you relate to that?
I personally can relate, and the whole hiding it and not showing it. Because, for example, with Miss USA, she was still doing everything that she had to do, especially holding that title. And I personally have had to keep pushing and doing everything that I'm going do, because like you said, I wear so many different hats, right. And no matter how I'm feeling in the inside, I still gotta go do what I gotta do, you know.
Yeah. So now, can you share with us, you know, an experience that you went through that put you in a situation like this?
Yes. So I didn't really become aware of, like, mental health is something that I've always heard of, but it wasn't until I was 16 that I became more fully aware of it. I did have a friend of mine commit suicide.
I'm sorry.
And that's when everyone around me, like, had realized, like, okay, we really don't know what someone's going through, because he was the type of person that would help everyone else, but no one really bothered to ask if he was okay. You know,
that typically happens.
Yes,
that typically happens, and it's a shame that, you know, that sometimes the person holds on to the burden themselves, and they don't know how to release that burden, and they take it all on themselves.
Yes.
It was like with the Miss USA. In her suicide letter, her mother had stated that she could no longer bear the crushing weight of sadness, hopelessness and loneliness. And that's really sad that, you would feel that the only thing that you have to do is turn to suicide. Because there's no other solution.
Yeah, and it sucks because having to hold so much weight, because I was someone that, like he was, someone that everyone would go to and dump all of their problems onto. And it got to a point where people's issues were my issues. And they were causing me to be depressed because it got to a point, I was only 16.
Oh, wow.
Like, how was I going to deal with, like, all these emotions that other people were going through, and then also having to deal with my own emotions?
So you're definitely an empath. You're definitely one that when somebody tells you their problems, you feel for them.
Yes.
You really do feel for them.
I do.
And so you were carrying all that weight. And so then when you were carrying all that weight, what did it make you feel? Like, what did you experience? What happened?
It made me feel very helpless. I didn't know how else to help. It got to a point where I also wanted to commit suicide.
Wow.
And I remember that whole night. It was very, very, it was very dark. And I actually had gone out with friends that day and the night before, and I don't know, I just felt like I didn't belong there. Like, they didn't understand what I was saying. They didn't, like, it was just, I felt like such an outsider when I was hanging out with them. And keep in mind, like, they were like my best friends at the time. But it was like I was dealing with so much from other people, and like I would want to talk to them about it, but they would never, like, I don't know, like they would never open that door for me to have that conversation. So I felt like I didn't have anyone to talk to.
So did you share your feelings with anyone at that time?
I did, with my parents.
Okay,
my parents were the ones that really, really, like, supported me throughout this whole thing, and they're the people that I ran to when I started having those thoughts. And sometimes, like, the reason why I also didn't run to most of my friends, because most of my friends were the ones that were dumping all this stuff on me, and I didn't want to go back into them and, like, dump everything that I was going through when I know their stuff was way worse than whatever I was dealing with.
Wow.
But my parents were the ones that, helped me seek help and supported me throughout the whole, recovering from that.
Oh, wow. Well, I'm glad that your parents were there. And it's always a positive thing to have parents that you can go to and you can have that open conversation, and you can, trust that what you share with them, they're going to be there for you. Because sometimes, some relationships don't have that communication where they don't feel they can go and tell them how they're feeling. But I think that's great. I want to share something from Keep Calm and Trust God. Our fatigue is often caused not by work, but by worry, frustration, and resentment, by Dale Carnegie. What do you think about that?
I relate to that so much. So much.
It's draining. It's emotionally.
Yeah.
I can really, really relate to whenever we worry about something, especially something that's out of our control. It's emotionally draining.
Yes.
And when it becomes emotionally draining, it does something to the physical body. It does something to your mental state of mind. And you want to be aware of that. It's, especially for me, when I say living in harmony no matter what, it's not that my life is perfect. I would never say my life is perfect. It's recognizing when something is off, recognizing when something is off, and then taking a step back and looking at your life and the things that you're doing and the people that you're associating with, and then fine-tuning, deciding what no longer serves you. You need to move forward. What is bringing you joy and laughter, you need to embrace it. What's feeding your soul and embracing it, right? So definitely.
No, I was gonna say, you have been someone that has really, like, reminded me of that constantly, and I'm getting to a place in my life right now where I'm doing everything that I love, and I'm being surrounded by people that are positive and are bringing good energies in my life, and I'm also getting rid of all that
negative
stuff that I don't need.
And that's good, because it's important, right? Because you will definitely feel when you don't belong somewhere. You will definitely feel when something is not right. Because, to me, I'm all about energy, and I'm all about, listen to the signs, and, you feel it out, right? So I think that's good. And then if you're in the right place, because it'll just flow. It'll just flow the right way. I think that's great. I mean, and if you think about the other stories that was out, and I hope I say her name right, is Kalia Pasi from Toddlers and Tiaras. She was 16.
Yeah, she was 16.
She was 16, and for me as a parent, that's devastating to have something like that happen to your child, especially when you think your child is okay, or if you think your child is just a little bit depressed and you don't know what to do for them, or you think that they're okay with it. You never think, I know if that was me, I would never for once think that my child would think about committing suicide. But even I have a daughter who suffers from, she had anxiety, and I've watched her go through anxiety, and I see what that's like. And as a parent, you feel helpless. You feel really helpless because you can't do anything about it. You don't understand what pains they're feeling inside. But as a mother, whatever pain that your child is feeling, even if you don't understand it, you still feel it.
Yeah.
And, I'm so sorry for their loss and for everything that they had to go through. But it's definitely, with May, the month of mental health awareness, we definitely want to bring a light to look around the people around you, look at yourself and think about, is everything okay? Do you need to take a step back? Do you need to, create some healthy boundaries? I can tell you at one point, I didn't have any boundaries. And I know that took a lot from me. So when you learn to create healthy boundaries, you learn to move forward. You learn to say no, because, when you're a yes person, you say yes to everything. And sometimes saying yes to everything is not a good thing, because you can't do it all. But I think that's something that we all need to consider. Now, do you ever feel like you might be slipping back into a state of depression?
Yes. There's moments where I do I'm perfectly fine, I'm okay, but then I start slowly, without even realizing, allowing myself to be put in places and situations that I know are not comfortable for me, and I know that I shouldn't be in, and it kind of just brings me back to this whole place. And then it's because I have the very bad habit of filling my schedule up with 101 things to do, and I don't really take care of myself. I don't do the whole self-care, spa day type of thing, because I'm constantly I gotta go here, and then I gotta go there, and I'm not sleeping, and I'm not eating, and I'm not doing all this stuff, which is really, really bad. And then I start getting depressed. I'm why am I doing this to myself? And instead of helping myself and actually taking the time, I'm just dwelling on the fact that I'm not doing it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. But have you ever considered doing meditation? I know I mentioned it to you a couple of times.
Yes.
Meditation is a good way to stop your mind, and just be still, right? And it sounds like you're not still. You're always on the go.
I'm always on the go.
So you need to take that moment to step back and be still. Find a Saturday, find a Sunday, and put some meditation music and sit still, maybe in the dark or just by yourself with no distractions. I know it's probably going to be hard for you.
But what I have been doing is saying no to things.
That's good.
Just not you know what? Today is not the day. I'm not going to rehearsals today. Right. And just staying home and just relaxing, because I still haven't figured out what it is that relaxes me. But as long as I don't go and stress myself out,
you gotta find that.
I'm good.
So how does it feel when you say no and you create those boundaries?
It feels good. It feels good. For example, recently I just took the whole week and just didn't go to any of my extra activities. Of course, I had to go to work, but I didn't go to my extra activities, and it felt good to just be home and breathe. Yeah,
sometimes you do. That's what I tell you, right? Just breathe. Just breathe, because you know what? Not not making a joke or anything, but I realized in some situations that I have been in that, they have been so intense that I found myself, I wasn't breathing.
Yeah.
And then I had to stop and say, oh my God, I just need to breathe.
Yes.
Because, that's when the anxiety kicks in.
The
that's
panic
when
attacks.
Yes.
It's bad.
Yeah, it is. So once you breathe and you get that oxygen in, it helps a lot.
It helps.
It really, really helps. And then what about activities? What activities that you like? Have you found your happy place?
Yes. Performing.
Of course.
Performing.
Of course.
The joy singing brings to me is insane. Like, I don't see myself doing anything else that's not that.
I think that's good.
And I love performing, and I love singing at church. Singing at church, it's singing, yes, but it's completely different.
Yeah,
like, I close my eyes when I'm singing at church, and I just lose myself. And sometimes when I open my eyes, everyone's just like,
well, that's because you can easily get in a zone and you're singing to God. Like, you're in church, you're singing to Him, and it's just you and Him, and that's an awesome feeling.
Yes.
I mean, I know, for me, I'm a little bit older, but when I was your age, I had that passion too, where I wanted to be a singer, and that's all I wanted to do. But then at my time, it was so cutthroat back then that it was like, no, it's not something you get into unless you know somebody. And for me, I had to put that on the shelf, put it on the shelf. But then it's like, coming and joining forces with MCAC.
Yes.
Lex was like, oh, no. You can do this. Come on. And it was good for me because, it reminded me how much I really do enjoy singing. And when we sang at the Senior Center for Cinco de Mayo, we were blessed and we were able to perform for the senior citizens.
Yes.
And when we performed for the senior citizens, it gave me so much joy because I had a woman come up to me and tell me, thank you. I'm going through a divorce and you lifted my spirits. And that just reminded me why I go out there and why I sing I Will Survive. Everywhere we go, I sing I Will Survive. Because for me, I Will Survive has been a reminder that no matter what I go through, no matter what's being thrown at me, I'm going to survive and I can move forward. And it does that.
I have moments like that all the time. And I recently we performed at a middle school.
Yes.
And having the middle schoolers come up to me and be like, you sing so good. I want to do what you do. I want to sing.
It's inspirational.
I want to do this. I want to do that. And it reminds me of like, even though a lot of the things that I do stress me out because I do so much and I don't breathe.
Yeah.
I remember that like, okay, everything that I'm doing is to inspire other people that they can do the same thing that I'm doing. And it's just like, I don't know.
And that's, that's what we're all about. We're all about bringing light y amor to the community.
Yes.
And it's sharing our gifts because everybody has a purpose, right? And so it's like when somebody's going through depression and anxiety, it's a matter of, trying to understand what's putting them at that state of mind and then finding your happy place.
Yes.
Because once you find your happy place, things start shifting. And once you start focusing on what is my happy place as opposed to I'm depressed and I have anxiety, and sometimes you can't control it, right? But it's a habit where you start getting yourself used to, okay, you enjoy singing. So, you want to create more moments where you can be out there singing and entertaining the community, So I really, I can relate to that, I mean, because for me, even though, I'm much older, I still get the same feelings. Yes. I love singing. I love entertaining. And, it puts me in a happy place. It really does. It lifts my spirit. So let's see. I want to make sure that, let's talk about, so did you seek any professional help?
Yes, I did. Okay. My parents were very quick to get me help. The night that I told them that I couldn't do it anymore, the following day, like literally at 6 a.m, my dad wakes me up, takes me to the doctor, and I get sent to a mental hospital. And then from there, I started doing therapy. And honestly, when I tell people, like when I suggest therapy, like maybe you should go to therapy and talk to someone, I always tell them you might not like the first person you talk to. You might have to go to a different therapist until you find the one. Because the first therapist I went to go see, I felt like instead of me getting better, I was getting worse.
Oh, wow.
And it was just, I stopped going to therapy for a while. And then I started going, like, searching more like other therapists and stuff like that, until I found the one that actually really, like, that I clicked with, and I felt she understood what I was talking about and actually was giving me what I felt good advice to get me through whatever I was going through. Right. But then I also had my parents' support throughout the whole thing. Like,
that's important.
It was sometimes being Hispanic, they don't really believe in mental health.
Right.
And it sucks sometimes.
You mean seeking help for mental health?
Yeah, and in general, but
like, you know, it's just life.
It's just life. And so
that's usually what they say. They usually say, "Oh no, that's life. You're gonna have to deal with it."
Exactly.
Yeah. No, I definitely get that.
And I'm so thankful that even though I couldn't express to my parents how I was feeling, why I was depressed or why I was having anxiety or what anxiety even was to begin with, my parents would go on YouTube and research how it felt to have anxiety, how it felt to have depression.
That's awesome.
How to deal with panic attacks, because at the time I was having so many panic attacks. My mom, like, I don't know where she saw it or how, but I remember one day I was having a panic attack and she just randomly places ice in my hands. And I'm like, why the heck are you putting ice in my hands? And then I was calm.
We went through that. I think I went through that with my daughter. It was like, I didn't understand it. And we researched that too. Yeah. And I felt like I was walking on eggshells, because I was like, you know, don't say anything bad to her. Don't stress her out. You know, I didn't want to see her go through a panic attack, because it's really difficult to watch. It really is, because like literally my heart was breaking, because you can see the pain that a person is going through. So I can totally relate to that. It is so great to hear that you had supportive parents to help you through that, you know. And did you found your happy place, right? You found your happy place after that?
I did find my happy place. Shortly after that, I joined my church choir that I'm currently still in.
And got closer to God?
I got closer to God.
That's amazing. Yeah, no, I mean, that's awesome. That's something that we all need to do. I know for me, like, you know, when I was going through my divorce, it was like, it was a difficult situation, but I was happy I was doing it, and I went straight to God. I was praying every day. I was reading a lot of things. I was, you know, in the Bible, but it made me feel at peace.
Yes.
Because I trusted that my decision was the right decision for me to move forward, because I needed to be, because we're all here for a purpose, and we need to live our purpose. And our purpose is to lift others and, you know, just walk in God's name, right? And so I thought that was the best thing. It was the best thing.
It is the best thing.
And, you know, so for me, I want to make sure that, you know, for this month, we're sending out the message that if you're going through anything like this, or if you know of someone who's going through anything like this, you want to make sure you bring it to the awareness, right? You want to make sure you check on people. You're kinder to people. You want to make sure that they know how to get help. The National Suicide Prevention Lifeline is 1-800-273-8255, and we're going to make sure we put it in the comments below. But definitely share that information and tell people about it, because someone that you know that looks like they have it all together on the outside may not have it together. You know, you want to pay attention, and you just want to be aware, because there could be somebody that's going through some serious darkness within, and you want to make sure that they're talking to somebody, to somebody professional, or talking to a family member, or have a support system so that they could talk through their depression and their problems and what they have going on.
Yes.
Let me see. I want to make sure that we covered everything that we wanted to talk about. And I definitely want to thank you for being strong and sharing your
Thank
story,
you.
because it's not easy, you know. It's not easy at age 16 to go through something like that and then push through. You push through,
Yes.
and I congratulate you for pushing
you.
through and finding your happy place. And you know, because you're an amazing talent. Like you
you.
have a beautiful voice, and you do share that with the community, and everybody loves to hear you sing.
Thank you.
So, and you know, I definitely say that is your gift, and that's what you're here for, you know.
Thank you.
So is there anything else that you want to share? Let's see.
Well, I guess just honestly, if you're going through anything, don't be afraid to reach out and get help. Talk to a friend, talk to a family member, professional help. Honestly, it's better to think back at it and be like, I can't believe how far I've come since that situation. And I think about it all the time. I wouldn't have been able to live all the amazing opportunities that I have had presented in my life if I would have taken my life when I was 16.
Right.
So it's better to, you know, get the help.
So tell me something about your relationship with a group, like you
friend
had.
groups.
Yeah, friend groups.
I guess when I was around that age, 16, I had a lot of friends that were I've always had friends that are very different. I've always had friends that are different. And sometimes I would feel so, I don't even know, like I would feel so out of place sometimes. And it would make me feel like, is there something wrong with me? Am I not good enough? Am I not funny enough? Am I not outgoing enough? Why don't I get invited to things? Why don't I this? Why don't I that? And so then it started to just kind of like get into my head that people didn't like me. And it was just kind of like, I mean, I was young, so you wanted to be liked by people. You wanted to be like,
accepted,
you know, accepted. And it's, yeah.
So, can you tell us about a recent situation that you went through? Trying to be accepted.
Yes. I had a situation with a group of people that I guess had a different mindset than I did. And I've realized that I've had quite a few situations like that now that I think of it, where I'm with a group of people that have a complete different mindset, different intentions, different goals than me, and
different perspective.
Yes, and if they didn't like what I was there for, and what I thought or what I feel was sincere and genuine, you know, desire to be in that group. It was like they were just trying to put me down the whole time.
Yeah.
And I kept being in there because I liked it and I loved it, but they was just bringing so much negative energy to me that I really didn't need.
And how was it making you feel?
Terrible. It was stressing me out. It was making me feel overwhelmed. It made me question so much of everything that I was doing there, and I hated that. I hated that because I used to question everything I used to do, and then I got, you know, what I'm doing is good enough, and then going back to questioning everything, it's like, I don't need to do this.
Yeah.
I don't need this.
Yeah.
It's like, out.
No, I definitely get that. So how did you feel when you quit that group?
Great.
Yeah.
I felt great because I had more time for myself, and I knew that what I was doing was the right thing.
Exactly.
And that what they were doing wasn't.
It wasn't serving you.
It wasn't. Yes. And
that's when you know you're making the right decision, when you're at peace with your decision.
Yes.
You know, one thing I always say, for me, what I experience is that when I struggle, like, you know, there's you make decisions. You either say yes or no because you know you want to do something, and you know you don't want to do something. When you struggle and it's a tug of war, back and forth, that's something that for me, I take a step back and I look at it and I think about, is this something that I really need to be doing? Is this something that's really for me? And if it's not, then I make the decision. But it's always something that I question. Because usually when I know I want to do something, I'm like, yes, it's a yes. And if I know I don't want to do something, it's a no. But when I'm unsure, I take a step back. I pray about it. I listen to the signs. I look at the signs, and then I make my decision.
Sometimes I'm really bad about that.
You gotta.
But I've been learning to, if I don't feel comfortable with something, to say no.
Exactly. That's what you should always say. So I want to read a quote on depression by Dorothy Rowe. It says, depression is a prison where you are both the suffering prisoner and the cruel jailer.
Yes.
Can you relate to that?
Yes.
So definitely that says a lot right there. But another thing I wanted to point out is that, you're young, so you have your whole life ahead of you. And what's good about it is that you're already aware of the feeling of feeling overwhelmed, the feeling of being depressed, the feeling of having anxiety. And so you're at the point where, tell me if I'm wrong, you should be at the point where now you can recognize it.
Yes.
And so is there anything that you want to tell our audience? What, give them some suggestions of what they should do if they feel like they're in a situation where they feel anxiety is coming on or deep depression?
Yeah, like if you feel like you're somewhere where it's causing you a lot of anxiety, take a step back and realize if it's doing you any good, if the people that are, how do you say,
surrounding you
are giving you good energies and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm all about energy.
Yeah.
My chakras
you've been getting me into that all energy stuff.
You can feel it.
Like if the vibe is it, just don't stay in a place where it's causing you anxiety, where you're dreading it, where you're overthinking everything. Don't stay. That's just torturing yourself. Honestly, it's not good.
You should be. And it's always important to me to have inner peace.
Yes.
After leaving, after being married for 19 years and being in a relationship that at the end of the relationship it was domestic violence. For me, it's my inner peace is really important. If I can't have inner peace, then I need to move.
Yes.
So, and that's very important. So I think that this was a great topic, sharing your experience, how you came through. I'm very proud of you. Glad that, you're here to share this with us so that we could create awareness throughout our community and tell everybody that, there is help out there. You just have to find the right help that works for you.
Yes.
And we want to make sure that, DM us or send us a message if you need some guidance or some help pointing you in the right direction. But, it's very important to do what makes you happy and, share your gifts, because everybody has gifts. You want to share your gifts with others so that you can lift them up. So I want to share from Grace for the moment. I want to share something that I talk about, travel light. So this is 1 Peter 5:7. Give all your worries to him because he cares about you. And then the writing on traveling light is, God has a great race for you to run. Under his care, you will go where you've never been and serve in ways you've never dreamed. But you have to drop some stuff. How can you share grace if you are full of guilt? How can you offer comfort if you are disheartened? How can you lift someone else's load if your arms are full with your own? For the sake of those you love, travel light. For the sake of God you serve, travel light. For the sake of your own joy, travel light. There are certain weights in life you simply cannot carry. Your Lord is asking you to set them down and trust him. That's beautiful.
Yep.
What do you think? gonna have to start traveling late.
Yeah.
Put some things down.
It's like how they say, you gotta practice what you preach.
Exactly.
So if you're out there helping people and you're not helping yourself, come on.
I'm all for practice what you preach. That's why I'm constantly looking at what I'm doing, and living in harmony.
Living in harmony.
Living in harmony, no matter what. No matter what. And this weekend, May is a full month, and this weekend I want to say Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there, and wish you a beautiful, peaceful day. And my Mother's Day will be very different this year, but it's living in harmony, no matter what. So I again thank you, Susie, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you everybody for watching. And I'm glad that you can tune in and make sure that you are aware of who's around you. And remember, life is not perfect, but we want to live in harmony no matter what. So fine tune your path. And we'll see you next time. All right. Bye.